I've always loved Toblerone. Sure, the taste is great and the shape is kind of cool, but the reason why I love Toblerone is because every time I see Toblerone, it reminds me of my childhood vacations in the Swiss Alps. And I'm not the only one. Even today, Toblerone remains one of the best-selling travel souvenirs in Europe. It's impossible to pass through any airport without seeing tourists buying massive quantities of Toblerone. So when Toblerone recently changed their packaging, well, it caused quite a scandal. In this video, we're going to uncover the secret stories behind Toblerone and find out what all the fuss is about. Welcome to my channel, the #1 place for mental stimulation. Okay, so the first question is obvious. Why is Toblerone shaped like a mountain? As it turns out, there's a bit of controversy over the true origin story of Toblerone's mountain design. Most people assume the iconic peak design was inspired by the nearby Matterhorn, a legendary mountain located near Toblerone's headquarters in Bern, Switzerland. But Toblerone's own website credits a different source of inspiration, namely, the French cabaret act called the Folies Bergère, where human pyramids are a popular prop. While this sounds plausible enough, there's no historical documentation to support either of these theories. So ultimately, the true origin of Toblerone's shape remains unknown. What we do know is that the bar's unusual shape was part of a strategy to help the new confections stand out among the many other chocolate brands on the shelves. Now next up, let's talk about the bear. If you take a close look at the mountain image on the Toblerone wrapper, you might notice something strange. Tucked away in the silhouette of the mountain is a tiny bear, and that's no accident. The bear, of course, is a reference to the city of Bern itself, which has a long-standing nickname, the City of Bears. You can actually still see live bears at the city's famous bear park, a huge enclosure right in the center of town. Given the countless bears that roam the city, it's easy to see why Teddy Tobler felt the need to include such an Easter egg on his product's packaging. So next up, let's explore the mysterious scandal of 2016. According to a report by the BBC, in order to avoid increasing the cost of its products, Toblerone's parent company, Mondelez, decided to widen the gaps between the peaks on the Toblerone bar. This meant that the weight of Toblerone could be reduced by 10%, all while maintaining the same price. The British public was not happy. One social media user summed up the general feeling, writing, "I hope Toblerone doesn't mess around with its packaging. It's already got thinner, and it's ridiculous." Another person added, "You can't make the peaks smaller and give us the same amount of chocolate. Someone call trading standards." Eventually, the company would reverse its decision to downsize the packaging, though the damage to its reputation was already done. Now for the second part of the video, let's dive into the 2022 Swissness scandal. So in the summer of 2022, it was announced that some Toblerone products manufactured in Slovakia would no longer feature the traditional Matterhorn image on the packaging. Instead, it would be replaced with a generic mountain range. On the face of it, this might seem trivial, but it actually speaks to a much bigger issue regarding food labeling regulations in Switzerland. Switzerland takes the purity of its national symbols very seriously. Take this advert featuring the Matterhorn, for example. Just by showing the Matterhorn, the Swiss Tourism Federation was able to convince the court that this was a clear reference to Switzerland. As a result, the tourism board was found guilty of misuse of Swiss topography and ordered to pay a fine of 12 million francs. Obviously, protecting national symbols is important. But in the case of Toblerone, things get a bit more complicated. Despite its name, Toblerone is no longer produced entirely in Switzerland. In fact, the original recipe was tweaked decades ago to include ingredients sourced from all over the globe. Now, according to Swiss law, in order to label a product as Swiss-made, at least 80% of the product must be processed in Switzerland. However, in the case of Toblerone, only 38% of the product is actually made in Switzerland. The rest is made in factories abroad. This problem affects a wide variety of food products in Switzerland, including cheese and chocolate. This leads us to the question, how are Swiss companies getting around this issue? Well, the answer lies in a clever piece of Swiss legislation known as the Swissness law. The law allows Swiss food producers to overcome this problem by advertising their products based on their origin country rather than the location of production. For example, the label "Produced in Switzerland" may be used even if the product is made in a foreign plant as long as the goods meet specific requirements. According to this provision, Toblerone was allowed to retain the Swiss label despite moving some production abroad. However, the same could not be said of the Matterhorn imagery, After all, the Matterhorn is not an arbitrary national symbol, it's a real physical location in the Swiss Alps. Therefore, the use of the Matterhorn in Toblerone's packaging was seen as a violation of trademark law. To avoid future headaches, Toblerone decided to remove references to the Matterhorn from non-Swiss-made bars and replace them with a generic mountain range. In response, one Twitter user wrote, "Dear Toblerone, we are officially done now. Thanks for the memories. Rest in peace." Another person added, "How dare they change the logo? Toblerone will never recover from this black spot on its history." Vreepy. Okay, honestly, it's really not that big of a deal. But hey, who am I to stop people from being upset over a stupid chocolate bar? Now in the last part of the video, let's explore why Toblerone matters. With its characteristic pointy peaks, Toblerone is instantly recognizable all over the world. Even children know what a Toblerone looks like, yet few people seem to know anything about the origin.